Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, strategic workforce planning. So very inspiring, Jens. I have done the different journey. I moved from IT to the business. The reason why I have done this was I strongly believe I can make more impact there. We always put the patients in the center, and I started 20 years before in Roche, and my first job was implementing a LIMS. And believe it or not, it was rocket science, right? We're coming from paper, and nobody keeps care about the audit trail. What is an audit trail? Why we need this? And over the last 20 years, I spent a lot of time on IT systems, ELN, LIMS, instrument integration, all the stuff. My last project was create instrument integration over a cloud solution. Now I have a little bit of unusual topic for myself, strategic workforce planning. I strongly believe we have all the technology what we need. We have LIMS, we have ELN, we have LES, we have MES, we have cloud, we have on-prem, we have everything. But how to use it? Have we really the right people? So in Roche, we are driven by science, right? And this is why we usually hire scientists, not IT folks. 1 year before, I lived in the Bay Area, working for Genentech there. And you can imagine, if you're looking for IT people, there is Apple, there's Google, there's Facebook. It's impossible to get really good talents there. And in Roche, we have basically diagnostics and pharmaceuticals, which is a great combination for our patients. It means, so have the right treatment for the right patient is the key. So we are entering the market of gene and cell therapy, which is really important to identify the right persons. And in this case, you're creating a lot of data, more and more. And what we see in Roche, our batch size goes dramatically down. Maybe, hopefully you know Roche. If you don't know, look outside. There are two towers. We see more and more we are going down with the batch size because we can identify more closely our patient group. So with cell therapy, it's a totally different story, but gene therapy is also a small patient group, right? And for this, we need diagnostics. So I don't know if everyone here is aware about our R&D cycle. So sometimes when you see something in the news, they say, oh, the produce of a drug costs you only a few cents, right? Why a company like Roche or all others charge you 30,000 bucks every month? Because it takes us 12 years and we spend 1 billion to get a new treatment to the market. And the challenge for us is how we can accelerate this to help patients much more faster. Usually what we see today, there is a huge impact on the target selection, lead identification in the preclinical phase, where we see we're working with AI there, right, to bring down the components. But then comes this clinical development where we get some patient data back. And you can imagine also Roche have a lot of Excel sheets and PowerPoints, right, where we make decisions. And I'm working in this phase 0 to phase 3 now. 5 years before, I work on the right-hand side on commercial production, we call it. And I've never seen this circle before. This is the reason why I want to share it with you. And it takes really long for us. Many reasons are the clinical studies there, not all what we do internally. So we talk a lot about a lab of the future. And when I get in touch with IT folks, lab of the future is a LIMS, a ELN, some integrated instruments. And it's true. We want to create insights of our data. It's really important, fair data. We have heard this in the morning as well. You cannot do some rocket science with AI without fair data. Huge companies across sites, across languages. You can imagine Germany, we say PH wird. Nobody understands this in US. But we have never thought about this before because it all was a silo. But if you want to compare data from US to Germany, it's important to have the right data sets. What we see, data integrity. Oh man. We spend a lot of time to fixing there some issues where we get some recommendations from FDA and other health authorities to do a little bit more. And I mean, we heard it also before from Jens. The people sitting there and typing in data. Come on, guys, it's 2024. And we're working like in the Stone Age. When you go to the automotive industry, you see robotic systems, everything is automated, and you go to a pharmaceutical industry, and it's unbelievable. And people say, oh, Roche is a leader in this. Oh my goodness. If we are a leader, I don't know where you are, guys. But also we understand over the COVID time, the people want to work from home, and you can do many things from home, right? But maybe you have not physically the instrument in front of you. So this all drives a lab of the future. I take a Gartner slide here. And you see there's LES, LIMS, and so on. You see some orchestration platform, IoT, all the stuff. But I strongly believe the key is not implementing an ELN. The key is there to create maybe structured data, but at the end of the day, you need people there using the data. What is strategic workforce planning for us? As I told you before, I'm in the business. We have a slightly different view on things because we are not IT. And why we want to do this? To preparing for the future. Sounds realistic, right? But it's more a long-term strategy. We don't know what's happening in the next years, but we see there is a change how we deal with data. We see robotics and so on. This agility, everyone talks about agility. It's important, and I'm not talking about Scrum, right? It's a mindset topic. To jump faster on topics or get rid of it, which is sometimes not so easy. As I told you before, in the Bay Area, find talents, it's impossible. I mean, it depends a little bit on salary, but it's also here or in Basel, right? There is another company, they are also looking for great talents. It's the challenge in Basel. I'm from Penzberg. It's in the middle of nowhere. Who wants to work in Penzberg? And these are only 3 sites. We have much more sites which have own challenges there, right? The work culture. I had an open position for a group leader. And I ran some interviews, and it was really surprising because a lot of people ask me how many days I can work from home. One of the first questions. And make me aware our work culture has really changed. We cannot avoid this. When I started this, I have never asked this question. But now I must align with this culture, right? It's unavoidable. When I started 20 years before, you can imagine there was no iPhone. We all know we're in a pharmaceutical environment. There is GMP, GXP. We must do what we do. But now the people see, hey, I'm using my mobile phone the whole day. Why is my work life so complicated? Why I need a training to enter data in a LIMS, and they train me, don't push this button. Why is the button there? And sometimes people immediately fall to, we need some trainings. But this is not what we are see as a strategic workforce planning. We want to have a good food, right? For this, we need some cooks. But this is not our core business. This is why we outsource something. And this is our holistic overview to see, okay, how we can deal with upskill, reskill, bring the right talents in, or moving out topics. You see it a little bit later. We are not looking anymore for architects, IT architects, because we believe this is a capability from IT. We should not be competitors with IT. But also when you say, oh, I need tomorrow a data engineer, you cannot hire, right? Because it takes us a half year to hire someone, unfortunately. And this is really important for me to have all angles on our strategic workforce planning. So, how we have done this? Usually you have strategic drivers, some strategy, external drivers. This is always the starting point. Then you must tell a story behind, right? Why you do this, what are industry trends? We cannot ignore AI, large language models. It's not a hype. But also you must tell the senior management what is changing after this, right? When we invest hours, millions in things, there must be an impact for patients, for the company, maybe on the share course. And you need a framework. You cannot start with an empty page. Then usually I call it the matrix, right? It's you writing down which skills you need, which roles you need. Maybe you have business capabilities, what you need, and you do a gap analysis. Not so complicated on a slide deck. And at the end of the day, I mean, this is really important. You must execute this. To create a strategy is totally easy. I like this because other people must execute this. But take it into action and say, okay, how we can measure this, how we see the success, the impact of this. And also do the marketing, right? In a big company, not everyone is aware what we are doing. So let me dive a little bit deeper there. At the end of the day, true, HR, adjusted from the beginning. Some strategic drivers. So usually you have a business strategy, what your company want to achieve, as well created with ChatGPT. So, but with kind of this strategy, you see, it's maybe a commitment to R&D, to development, blah, 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 blah. Then usually you have as well an IT strategy. And maybe IT look on different eyes on a strategy, but you must take this into account. You cannot ignore this. And you have some external drivers. I've spoken, I think 6 years before, about cloud. Said Roche or PTD, technical development, will now to go to a cloud solution. And a lot of my peers say, oh no, the risk is too high. I get the same message from IT. We never go to cloud. We did it, and it was a great journey. Now we see software as a service, right? Platforms as a service, large language models, robotics, cyber security, my favorite topic now. But there are also some global influencing factors, especially when you have a company that they have 100 sites around the globe. You have different health authorities. We see Swissmedic here in Basel looks differently on things as a FDA in the Bay Area at Genentech, right? We have budget constraints. There's not an infinite pocket at Roche. And we have this Generation X. They have different needs. Then you can tell the story. There are industry trends. I used, again, something from Gartner, but you find some other things where Gartner look in a crystal ball and say, ha, you need data scientists in the future. Oh, what a surprise. At the end of the day, it comes up earlier or later, what is the business case? I think there are a few guys from Bayer here, right? Congratulations to Bill Anderson. With Bill, we had the strategy, don't keep care about the budget. Spend what you need. With our new CEO, we have a different strategy. There must be a positive impact for Roche with every dollar what we spend. And you should think about, we talk about the strategic workforce planning for PT, it's around about 12,000 people. You can imagine when we start now some trainings, you are talking about thousands, 10,000s of hours of business hours. And there must be an impact. And it's not so easy to describe. And I would highly recommend use a framework. We started without a framework, give us really a hard time. And I think there are some from Gartner, from McKinsey, and a few others, what you can use as a starting point. But at the end of the day, if you pitch something to a senior leader, they want to see a different story as the scientist in the laboratory. Because everyone asks the question, what is in for me? And this is on the shop floor level, a different story as for a CEO. And the question is totally easy. What do you need in the next 3 to 5 years? What we have done there, sometimes it's not so easy to break down a strategy. We are worked with business capabilities. It's also a Gartner model where you say, okay, my capability is release a batch or, I don't know, create a BLA. And with this, we get a better understanding which skills we need for this. And then we create this classical grid where we list some skills what we need. And at the end of the day, we come up and say, okay, in our business, in PT, we need 14 different skills. It starts with domain knowledge, because we are working in a pharmaceutical industry, right? Everyone must understand what is a drug or what is a HPLC at the end of the day. So, with this different skill sets, we know there are different levels from learner to practitioner to expert. Sometimes it's good enough to be a learner. Sometimes you need a more deep dive. Then we have done gotcha. We have done an impact strategy And we looked on the holistic strategy on where should we upskill, where should we reskill, where should we hire, and what is not our core business. And at the end of the day, we come up with some internal roles. It's an analytics translator who built the bridge from business to IT. It's a product owner, because we want to own the topics end to end, and some other roles like a data scientist, a data engineer. And take it into action. We build the learning journeys, we create KPIs, and we do a lot of advertising this, right? To make the people aware we have this. You can start your learning journey. You are by training a scientist, but now you have the possibility to maybe get a data scientist. And my key takeaways there: don't underestimate the effort. We spend a lot of time and money to do this. Use excellent company for this. They give you some input, can be Gartner, can be McKinsey, everyone, because you only know what you know, right? And it's really a value there to get some external input. Right story, right audience. We included our HR department because it have impact on positions. We understand it's not executing something, you must adjust it continuously. And at the end of the day, create a holistic strategy. Not only answer the question how we can train people. It's not enough from our perspective. With this, doing now what patients need next. Thank you for your attention.
Bravo. Thank you. Time for one or two questions.
Good.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So that holistic strategy, it's pretty impressive, right? Because how long did that take you? Not the pretty picture, but actually embedding that within the culture of the Penzberg, I'm guessing at Penzberg.
I mean, it's a global strategy which was developed with HR, because they have the same challenge, right? If we have an open position, how we deal with this when we not find the right talents. And we reuse this from our HR department because we feel it fits well for us. To don't overlook something, and I think HR developed this over around about 3 years.
Okay. And so you've borrowed.
Yeah.
You borrowed some previous knowledge and things.
Yeah.
To do that. Yeah. And how far along this are you in terms of your journey?
Honestly, we are at the beginning, right? We have some KPIs where we see, okay, from 12,000 people, our target is now train or upskill 3,000 in this year as data citizen.
Okay.
So it means everyone must understand why fair data is important. Sometimes if you work in a laboratory, you don't keep care about fair data because there's maybe a scientist behind, but a data scientist, but they get so much salary, they should do what they do. But it's not so easy if you go to a laboratory and say, now you must enter 2 additional metadata. We have never entered a batch number before. But you can imagine without this important key data, we cannot do the magic.
Doesn't work. So that's a big amount of people that you're taking on that journey. Okay, so maybe you'll come along and tell us how far you've got next time. Thank you, Andreas.
Thank you.